Hello, it's Alyssa here, Conscious Evolution Coach for Creative Nonconformists, and we're talking about you are a badass at making money again. Going through this whole book, and I'm doing a video on each chapter. And today our chapter is number 4, Best Practices for Busting Yourself. So this chapter is all about noticing when you've got limiting beliefs running the show and how to change that, essentially. So Jen gives some really good examples in here. Number 1 is run towards your fears. Run towards if you have a goal of a money goal or a business goal and it terrifies you, take action towards it. Like, what is a big, scary step that you can take? So I want to share with you an example from my life. This is something that I've done many times, but one specific example that came to me while I was reading this chapter was, it was several years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago probably. I was thinking about, like, what is the next step for me in my business? Like, I know that I want to get in front of people and like hold events and speak and be like more visible. And so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna write down all of the things that terrify me the most. So I got out a notebook and I wrote down on one page, maybe it was 2, like all the things that I wanted to do that were simultaneously fucking terrifying. And it was like, do speaking gigs, host a retreat, stuff like that. And so what I did is I proceeded to do the things that were so terrifying. So I can give you an example of what that looked like. So I walked into different places locally, like libraries, metaphysical gift shops, and I just like approached them saying, I am a life coach and a speaker and teacher, and I would like to hold a workshop or an event at your place. Like, how do I get involved in doing that? Like, what is the process that you require for me to book an event there? And so I proceeded to do that. I got a space at one of the local libraries. I had to like fill out some information on like how to set that up, and I scheduled in my time slot. And then I did a lecture series called Own Your Personal Power at a metaphysical gifts and bookshop. That was really fun. And so basically I just forced myself to do those things that were really, really terrifying. And I want to share with you it in that sense that, or like on this topic, not in that sense, that, you know, facing those fears, yes, it was super fucking scary. And also there's kind of like maybe a misconception that like once you face those fears, like everything is going to just like, you know, bust open beautifully for you, and then you're not going to have to deal with as much fear anymore. So yes, things can get easier, but for me, I noticed that, like, you know, so I did those things, I took those steps. The outcomes of those things weren't quite what I had desired consciously, right? So what I mean by that is, like, you know, the library event, no one showed up. And the metaphysical gift and bookshop event, I had one person sign up for the lecture series, and that one person was like so fucking into what I was doing. He like prepaid for every single class. Like, you could do it like one class or like pay for all of them. He prepaid for all the classes. He showed up every time. He was like just like eating up my words and just like loving it, and it changed his life. And he was this beautiful man that was kind of like, I called him like Jesus, because he had the ability to heal people, like really, really powerfully transform people, like heal people from things that like the doctors would say they could never fucking heal from. And he didn't know like how to deal with this ability, really. And so that's just one of the examples that I wanted to give you, because you know, like, just because you face a fear and then you do it and you're like, I did the damn thing, like, yes, it doesn't mean that you stop, or if you don't get the results that you like, that you just, like, you can use those experiences, like continue to use them to like refine and pivot and like do better, and know that like if something doesn't come, the outcome isn't exactly what you had intended, that it just means that there's some kind of unconscious energy probably conflicting with your consciousness, right? Hence the limiting beliefs that Jen's talking about in this chapter. So she says, you know, run face first towards your biggest fears. So those were some examples that I gave you from my own life. And she says, so let's see. So the example for you could be like figuring out one thing, one goal that you have, and then one big step, like one big action step towards that goal. And then I want you to like notice how that feels in your body and notice what comes up for you. So oftentimes this will happen in my life, where I will think about the thing that I want to do, and then like those little fear little things kind of start creeping up. Notice those things and confront them, because in that confrontation you can release them. Like you can transmute that energy and be free of it. That is like the whole point of like fucking living and following your desires, is so that you can make what is unconscious conscious, so that you can transmute it, so that you can live your fucking life that you desire. So the so like I said, you notice what comes up, right? You have a goal, you have an action step, a big scary action step towards your money goals. We're talking about money specifically in this, right? 'Cause you're a badass at making money. So when that fear and doubts and limiting beliefs come up, don't just push it down or ignore it. Like I said, you need to confront it. So you need to look at what is coming up for you. Like when you think about that money goal, what is it that comes up? Like, do you think about your mom and like the stories that the shit she used to say about money? Do you think about maybe your father and how he like will use money to try to like manipulate you or something like that? Like there's something that will come up, guaranteed, and then it is your job to look at that and rewrite your story around that. Okay, so you can like Jen gives a really great example in the book, like about her dad and money, that I will share with you right now. Okay, she says, even though he wasn't supporting me, my father's favorite method of showing me love and feeling needed and valued was to give me money. And I realized that I subconsciously believed that if I got rich, I'd be rejecting his love and basically stabbing him in the heart. So we can be carrying stories around like this where we don't consciously realize that we're stopping ourselves from doing things because we think we're going to upset someone from our childhood, that we had a belief in place that was supposed to be like something to protect us, or like so that we could get love and approval, that's still fucking running our lives. And so in order to root those out and find them and uncover them, we do this work, right? And that's really a really powerful way to have that shit come up. When you go for what you desire, you make that bold money goal, and then you take one big action step towards it, this shit will come up. And like it comes up because that's the reason why you haven't done it already, right? So then you can rewrite your story with that. So once you know like one of the main things that's stopping you, you can go, you sit with that, sit with how it feels, fucking acknowledge it, recognize it, write it down, and you can rewrite it. You can literally go in and one of the practices that Jen talks about in here, which is a really great one, is like you set a timer for 5 minutes and you just breathe, and then you ask yourself the question, I'll get to the book to refer to it. She says, ask yourself a question about something you're struggling with before sitting down. Like, what thoughts about money are blocking my flow? It's just like very simple. And you'll notice stuff come up, and just like have this like gentle curiosity about it. You don't have to be like, I need to know, I need to figure this out. Like set the timer, breathe, and then ask yourself that question. And then just allow yourself to just kind of let your mind kind of start relaxing, and it will fill up. Trust me, right? Like we naturally our minds will start going, right? So you will get answers if you ask yourself. But a lot of times we don't sit and do this. And it's very revealing and it's really powerful practice. So then you can also, rewrite your story. I love like creating, counter narratives and really getting to the root of something, of why you're doing the thing that you're doing, and then transmuting that energy. It's a really powerful practice. So you can ask yourself, if you have this fear, like my dad's going to reject me if I make a lot of money, and so what? And then if my dad rejects me, that means that he's going to be out of my life forever. And if he's out of my life forever, that means I will never see him again, and I will feel like a gaping hole in my heart. And that means, and so what? Like you can ask like these leading questions, and that means, and so what? And what happens then? Kind of like you're pulling out like this story, because your mind it's just like a child. Like you're making this story up, and this is what you've really been letting run you, and you believe this shit, So when you like dig a little bit and have those like little probing questions or those little prompts, that can really help you to get to the root of what that is. Because oftentimes what it ends up being is just it's basic survival consciousness, which is like, I will then die. Like once you get to the root of it, and then my dad goes away, he doesn't love me anymore, and then I'm dead. And then I just die in a pool of shame, or I end up homeless on the side of the road. Like those are our survival fears, and they will run us if we don't do that deep investigative work and then like transmute that energy that's stuck there, that's blocking us. So that's a practice that you can do. And what is one of the other things that Jen says here? I want to make sure I cover everything. Well, cover a good amount of stuff from that chapter. So Jen talks about paying attention to your words, and there's a really great list that she has in here, which our words are so fucking powerful. The way that we talk about things, it's like our words are spells, and it is so important to notice the way that we're talking. And I've talked about this already in some of the videos, like practice that awareness around what language are you using to talk about things, because you can find that it's very revealing. I know that for myself, like I'm someone who has spent a lot of time alone. I do love being alone, but I also just as much love the social time that I get with people. But I notice that if I am locked in my mind for long periods of time, then I go out and have a conversation with someone, sometimes the shit that comes out of my mouth, I'm like, I had this like mental concept of what I thought I was, and then I start saying all this stuff, and I'm like, that sounds fucked up. Like, so like we can sometimes have this incongruence. Most of us walk around with some level of incongruence in our lives, and so to be able to express things is really important, because it helps us to like spot things where we're like, oh God, like I guess that I had some fucked up kind of belief around that, and then you can correct that. So here are some phrases to watch with others and yourself. When you start sentences out with these words, you are in lack consciousness, okay? I want, I wish, I need, I can't, I'm trying, I hope, I should, and I don't know. Okay, so I don't know, like when you say you think you really don't know, is Jen says it's spoken as truth slams the door shut on finding out. Okay, so here are some excellent replacements that Jen gives as an example. I have, I create, I'm grateful for, I enjoy, I can, I choose, I love. Okay, and one of the other things that is really important to bring up is this idea of I know. Okay, so in this specific context, we're talking about money, manifesting money, creating more money in our lives. When we say the words I know, in the context of thinking, I understand this concept, therefore I don't have to really practice it. How many times have you done that? I mean, I know I've done it so much where I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. Like I'm a voracious seeker, and I'm super curious, and I always want to know about all the things, and I will understand concepts intellectually like this, you know, like super fast, and I love it, and I'm just like a bottomless fucking pit in my head, right, of trying to amass information and knowledge. And we live in a time where it's like that, where so much knowledge is at our fingertips. It's like we're bombarded with information. However, there's only so much that you can know up here, and then it can only get you so far, right? Like if you're not practicing it, if you know that this information that I'm sharing with you is going to be helpful for you, and you feel that, but then you don't do these things, it doesn't fucking mean anything. And a lot of times we do like what's called like mental masturbation, or like a mental kind of just like just playing with this stuff in our heads, and we get some kind of gratification from it, but it's like we're never really doing anything. And if you're just living up in your head, like what's the point of life, right? We're here to have the experience, the full experience. So I encourage you to ask yourself, what am I maybe saying, you know, like dismissing, where I think that I know better, but I'm not actually doing better? Or I think that I understand this concept, but have I really implemented it in my life? Am I embodying this? You know, that's really important to look at. And sometimes it takes like a little bit of, I really don't like the words like humble and humility, because I think a lot of people like misunderstand those, and they use them in a context of like, I'm just gonna like shrink myself so that I don't stand out too much, because I am all about stand the fuck up, stand out. The more that you are who you are, the better it is for yourself and others, no matter what anyone else thinks or how they respond to that. However, so it's like the words humility and humbleness like can rub people the wrong way, or they can misunderstand what I mean. But what I mean with that kind of wordage is like, don't think that you know everything, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, take yourself down. Like it's like an ego kind of trip, you know, like take yourself down and say, all right, I will set aside my pride for a moment about how I know everything, and I will try and not try, but like I will implement these practices, right? Okay, so I think you get the point there. And the last thing I want to cover in this chapter is the writing a letter to money. Have you ever done this before? So this is a very revealing practice. Like I was saying, when you start talking or you're speaking out loud about something, and then you realize, oh my God, I had like this limiting belief around it, or I didn't realize I thought this way or felt this way around it, because it's like you just spoke it. It just went, you know. Writing a letter to money can also bring this up for you. It can be very helpful to see how you really feel about money. I've done this practice many times. It is incredibly important because we have a relationship with the energy of money, because everyone has their ideas and their limiting beliefs or not limiting beliefs. They have some kind of beliefs around money, and like how you feel, what you think, like the messages and the programming you've received around money. And the way that we engage with that, and the way that we engage our energy, our beliefs, and our emotions with money is how money's responding to us, because money is a neutral energy and it's currency. And so it's like we get to decide, like, I mean, if you take it to like if you zoom out to like the high, like a fully transcendent level, like if I was a drone and I came out all the way, we are the creators of money. Like this is our dream. In human form, we only have our subjective experience. Like we can't prove that anything else exists outside of ourselves. Really, we can't. So this is all a dream. You can look at it through that lens and be like, okay, if this is all a dream and I'm the creator, then I created money. So if I created money, I'm the richest motherfucker that ever lived. Okay, so you can try that on too. That's really fun. Why not think about it that way? Because then you're like, wait a second. I can do whatever I want, you know? It's like you have that divinity within you. So here's an example of a story that is from one of Jen's readers about money, okay? Dear Money, I feel confident and secure when you're here, and I like to spend you when you're around. I feel generous to others, but sometimes you leave without saying goodbye. You're like a lover who comes and goes on a whim, and yet I always want you back. It makes me feel resentful and frustrated. I get so scared when you go because I'm afraid you will never come back. It makes me feel bad about myself. Why can't you just enjoy being together? So put yourself in that space of like, I would like to write a letter to money, and then just share your feelings, your heartfelt thoughts and feelings. And then you can have the practice after that, is you can actually be money and write a letter back to yourself. Okay? And that is super cool. And I think that might be in another chapter of the book, so you don't need to do that next step right now, like about money responding back to you. But that is also super powerful after you've written that letter to money, and then you have money's response, because you'll literally take on the energy of money and realize how much money is so neutral and how much money just fucking loves you. So I will leave you with this money mantra at the end of this chapter is, I love money because money is always here for me. Notice how that feels in your body. I love money because money is always here for me. To me, my whole like nervous system, my whole body just is like calms down, like just my muscles relax, and you just know, and like you rest in that knowing. So imagine going through your life with that belief, like that knowing, and how good that feels to just know my needs are always met. I'm safe, stable, and secure. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be doing another one on chapter 5 very soon. So if you like these videos, please subscribe to my channel. As soon as I get 100 people, I can do YouTube live streaming through any mobile device. So right now I can't do that. So my goal right now is just to get 100 subscribers so that I'm able to do live streams and I can give you more content. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. Bye.